Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mindful Moments podcast. I'm Tracy, your host and fellow traveler on this journey of self-discovery and exploration. Now listen, I want to get right on into this because, let's see, today is Saturday and I'm feeling it. I woke up today and something was on my mind and I was like, let me go ahead and share this. Of course, for future Tracy, but also for you all. And it's about, basically just not caring, deciding that you don't give a single flying F about what anybody else thinks, about anybody else's opinions. They're just them, their opinions, basically. Not them as individuals. Of course, we care about people, but this is it. So in the heart of every person lies a unique journey, a path that is ours alone to define. It's not one that is defined by standards that have been set forth by society, but it truly is about marching to the beat of your own drum. And it's a realization that dawned on me, and I realized that this is a very simple concept, and I know that there's many different ways that we can explore this, but there's so much power in not giving a single F, okay? And this isn't about negligence or disrespect, but it's about that deep, liberating feeling of self-expression in a way that resonates with you. And in all of this, I've realized that the core of this empowerment is grasping that among, the wealth of guidance and methods and, all of these constant how-tos that, all these different guides and lessons and teachings that we get from media, from people and society at large, of course. And all of that, from what I found, it just takes you away from being the most you that you can be. And the truth is, for all of my people out there who have early childhood education experience, like that's me. I don't have any children, but I've taught preschoolers and I've taught youngsters. And so it always takes me back to Dr. Seuss. And he was spot on when he said that there's nobody more youer than you, and this epiphany, it's not just freeing, but for me, it was a voice that really prompted me for action, and it encourages me to embrace chances to express myself completely, boundlessly, creatively, without holding back or worrying about criticism. And what transpires isn't disorder, but it's actually innovation. And it is a celebration of our uniqueness. So anyway, I was thinking about this morning, and I was thinking about the world and the way that we're indoctrinated with the belief that our worth is somehow measured by our hustle or our productivity and our adherence to societal norms. And it really put into perspective that we're constantly receiving all of this feedback about how we should walk and talk and behave, and whose opinions we should consider and whose we should disregard. It's constant. And in this indoctrination, we find that our mindset is being controlled, and it's not something that we are immediately aware of. It's something that is subconscious, okay? And it's important to know that breaking free from this mindset requires a mental shift, an intentional mental shift. And it has to be a conscious effort to rewire our brains from seeking validation and busyness and external achievements to finding peace and joy in the simplicity of being. And it's like we don't even think about this sometimes, and I'm talking to me. We don't think about just like how easy it is just to be ourselves, So sometimes we'll find that like there is this rush, and I mean rush as in speed. that we feel we have to hurry up constantly. We have to hurry to get here, to get there, to finish this and start that. And it's like all the time. It's all the time. It's never ending. And I find that the best feeling is when I sit in total acceptance of just beingness. And, for me, and I talked about this before, but, we live in the woods basically, and it's 4.5 acres of nothing but nature. And in doing this is nature, okay? Nature, the great teacher that it is nature that taught me about flow, because the natural world has an effortless flow to it. Nature, when you look at it, it's not concerning itself with worries of yesterday or uncertainties of tomorrow. It exists in a state of being. And this state of being is a constant reminder that our true birthright is ease, joy, and presence. I don't know who needs to hear this. I know for sure it's me who needs to hear this. It's always me who needs to hear this, but it's me. That hard work is not my birthright. Okay, I was not created to submit and adhere to the culture that is hustle. That's not for us. That was never intended to be us. And I'm looking out my window right now and I see some squirrels that are running around. And think about this. A squirrel is not sitting there, slapping itself in the face about the fact that it dropped an acorn, or that another squirrel took its acorn stash yesterday. It ain't thinking about none of that. That's not at all on the squirrel's mind. The squirrel's mind is just focused on climbing up the tree, grabbing another acorn, and cracking that bad boy open. And that's what I think about. Okay, so I just want you to picture that. So when we get back into, unpacking this philosophy of our true birthright of ease, joy, and presence, think about the fact that this philosophy extends to every facet of life. When we stop to consider what we would do if we could do anything, we often find ourselves constrained by fears of societal rejection or failure. Yet, the truth is, breaking out of these mental shackles frees us to explore our deepest desires and to engage in activities that feel so aligned with who we are that, time becomes irrelevant. And I don't remember where I heard this, but somewhere I read or heard or whatever that you'll know when you found your passion, you'll know when you found flow, because it'll be that thing that you could do for hours on end. Like, it's that thing you could wake up, it's the first thing you think about, it's what you're rushing home to get back to or rushing out to go do. It's that thing. It's the thing that if you didn't have, time as a constraint of sorts, if you were not bound by time, or you didn't have limitations around other obligations, be it children, family, friends, commitments, work, whatever, that thing that you would do, that is what is your natural state. Okay, so like for me, I really enjoy writing. I love journaling. I love being outside and in nature, playing with my dog, spending time with my husband. But if I didn't have any of them or any of that, what I would do, where I would be, I'd be creating. And for me, creating, I create in all types of different ways. Sometimes it's podcasting or, creating my jewelry or anything really, doing my hair, makeup, whatever. I could do those things for hours. I love doing all those things so much. I love painting. I love any time that I get to be in my zone, and that zone is your flow. Okay. So going back to the act of not giving a F, basically, if you can capture this mentality, if you can say, you know what, I know that this is out of the, societal norms. I know most people wouldn't do it this way. I know that some people may have opinions about how I'm doing X, Y, and Z, but I don't care, because this is how I'm doing it. And everyone gets to choose how they want to do whatever they want to do. And if you can do this, if you can lock in and you can harness this, then this is an act of radical self-love and acceptance. This is a refusal to conform to external expectations, and it's a commitment to carving out our own path, and this path being guided by our own inner voice and desires. At the core of it, it's about recognizing that we're not here to be carbon copies of each other, but to celebrate and express our individuality. And when you think about this, think about it as a way of, it's what the world needs of you, okay? It's what we need. It's what I need. It's what you need. It's what perfect strangers need. We need more of us being us. We don't need more of us trying to be like someone else, or trying to appeal to someone else, or trying to mold ourselves to fit into some sort of category that somebody else decided or deemed worthy. That's not what the world wanted. That's not what we need. That's not what the universe needs. And last night I was actually looking up at the stars, and there's a couple of planets. I do have an app on my phone, and I really need to get better at using the app. But basically, it'll tell you, what stars you're looking at, their placements, all of that. And I was looking, and I'm like, man, this is so hard for me to pick up. Like, I really want to be able to figure this out, but it was just way too hard for me at the time. So I put it down, and instead I just looked at those stars. I just accepted and reflected, and just looked at them and appreciated them for what they were, and their stars in the sky. And some shine brighter than others. Some I can see from a certain room in my house, and then I can't see them from other rooms in my house. Some appear to be closer to me than others. And it taught me a lesson. It taught me that each of those stars, they all shine, and my perspective, depending on the lens that I'm looking at them from, the stars may appear to have a stronger presence, or I can perceive them differently, basically, but it doesn't devalue the next star. And just because I can't see a star because it's not visible to my eyes from my line of vision at that moment, it doesn't mean that those stars don't exist. Okay? And one star is not concerning itself with the next. You know what I mean? So going back a little bit, and I know that I touched on this in a previous episode where I talked about not drinking and the fact that I stepped away from alcohol, and it's now been a little over 4 years that I've been sans booze. And that really marked for me a very significant turning point, okay? And basically that turning point was, so the point is, it wasn't just about like abstaining from a substance, because I use alcohol because that was, for me, one of the things that I was resisting the most. Like, I really didn't want to stop drinking because, as we know, it's everywhere. Society does it. Society really does a beautiful job of making sure that that particular substance is readily available. It's available, and it's available at all moments of our lives, for the good times, the bad times, the, indifferent times. That stuff is everywhere. And I've learned to kind of question things like that. I've learned that if there's something that is so present, where it's on every corner, dang near every corner in the United States, and at every event, every function, all of that, if there's something that is that present and I'm consuming it, I've got problems. I've got questions that need to be answered, because what is the motive of that? Why is there a deliberate action that's being taken basically on a national level, and I would argue to say internationally as well? Why is there such an effort to push this substance onto the general populace? Like, what is the goal there? And when I started to think about that, that was when I was like, okay, I want to reevaluate my relationship with this substance, with alcohol, because the motives were concerning, to say the least. The motives for me just did not sit well. I didn't understand why I had access to it as a teenager. And obviously, well, I won't say obviously, but it wasn't from my parents. It was, from peers. And it was a very social thing when I first picked up my first alcoholic beverage. It was like normal. Everybody was doing it. No bigs, just drink the booze is what they all said. It'll be fun. That's what they said. And it was at first. It was until it wasn't. And I'll talk more about this another time, but what I want to say is that when I leaned into the resistance that I was having to abstaining, when I first was like, maybe I should not drink because I don't really like hangovers, you know what I mean? And I was resisting that because I was like, no, well, society does it. Everybody does it. It's normal, blah, blah, blah. And doing all of that, I decided, for 4.5-ish years ago, I was like, nah, I'm going to quit. I'm not going to do this anymore. And when I did that, okay, I was able to clear this mental space. And anybody else who has had a similar journey, I know y'all know what I'm talking about, but it's that clarity. It's like when you're on an airplane and then the airplane lands and they still have the engine and everything running. But when you get off of the plane and you have that kind of like hum in your ears and it's just like silent, you're trying to get kind of readjusted to the fact that there is not a roaring engine and, several hundred other people on a plane with you or whatever. That is the feeling. And this clarity, it brought about a deeper understanding of neuroplasticity. And this is my introduction to the topic of neuroplasticity and the extraordinarily fascinating brain that we have that sits just above our shoulders and attached to our necks. And the brain's ability to rewire itself, that is the basis of neuroplasticity. And it's highlighted the incredible adaptability of the human mind and the potential that we all have for changing and transforming these subconscious, quiet lies that lie within each of us. And like I said, I'm going to be unpacking this more because the neuroplasticity part of my whole sans booze journey is actually like my absolute favorite part of everything. Well, one of my favorite parts. And I'm very eager to share more about it. But I just want to introduce this topic, and I want you to think about the fact that in the end, okay, our journey back to ourselves is not just about finding what makes us tick, but about redefining what it means to live. And it's a continuous process of discovery and of learning to prioritize your self-expression. And really, it's about grounding yourself in gratitude, love, and compassion, and doing that for self first. And I know that that's a tough one for some of us. There are some who wear that badge of honor of being an empath. And, I used to be one of those, and I'm still empathetic. I mean, I haven't lost that human touch. At least I don't think that I have. But empathy that you're able to extend to others, that is a very special quality in a person. And we find that those types of people are the salt of the earth. Those are the pillars of our communities. And for those people, I'm talking to you right now. for you, I want you to demonstrate an act of radical rebellion. And it's radical because it is something that may not come very naturally to you, or maybe you're thinking like, well, but I do care so much about others, and that's great. But here's the radical demonstration. Here's your demonstration of radical resistance is shift all of that, change, redirect all of that empathy that you give to others and redirect that to yourself, okay? Take that internally. See what that does. See what it feels like to treat yourself as if you are the 8-year-old child that you helped to take care of. And just as an 8-year-old child, if they fall, if they slip, if they forget to give you their report card, I don't think any of us as 8-year-olds were forgetting to give the report card, but you know what I mean. But pretend that you're talking to that 8-year-old and say to yourself what you would say to that 8-year-old. Say, it's okay that you fell. I know rollerblading is super hard and, it can be tough, and you really took that like a champ. Let's get up, brush ourselves off, get a Band-Aid, and off we go. And if you can do that, if you can redirect that self-compassion or that compassion back to yourself, then that's a testament to the fact that you're able to embrace yourself and your fullness and all of your colors and all of your ways that you express. And in doing so, you'll find peace that is beyond what anybody else can give you. It's beyond anyone else's approval or their recommendations, their considerations, because also you have to think about the fact that if those people didn't exist, which will all cease to exist at some point, if those people cease to exist, then you need to still be able to go to sleep at night and be able to wrap your arms around yourself, be able to encourage yourself and inspire yourself. So that's it for today. That's the word, that's the message, that's the tea, and that's where we are. So what I'll do in the next episode, well, at some point in another episode, I don't know if it'll be the next one. We'll have to see what happens, but we're going to talk more about neuroplasticity, and we're going to talk more about the power of your mind, the power of your brain, which houses your mind. And we're going to talk about how we can rewire, how we can change some of these subconscious beliefs that we have about ourselves and how we're supposed to be out in this world. And in the meantime, I want to leave everyone with a reflection question. And I would love to hear, of course, about your answers, but, answer it to yourself. Just silently ask yourself, what is one philosophy or belief that you held to be true that you'd like to let go of? So again, that's what is one philosophy or belief that you have held or, you have believed to be true that you want to let go of, that you want to release. And with that, that's the end of this episode. And I am so excited to catch all of y'all on the next one. Take care.